I was in the service in the Korean conflict era from 1954 to 1958.
Okay. What was your branch of service?
United States Air Force.
And your highest rank?
Airman First Class.
Okay. What were some of the general locations that you served?
Okay, the locations, I started off basic training at Sampson Air Force Base in upstate Geneva, New York. I was trained at Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi. And from there, I went to Bingen, Germany, on the Rhine River, near Frankfurt. And from there, I was transferred to Wheelus Air Base in Tripoli, Libya. And then I was transferred. My last tour was in Roswell, New Mexico, Walker Air Force Base. That's where I was discharged.
Okay. Now, were you enlisted, or were you drafted?
No, I enlisted.
Okay. What made you choose the Air Force?
Okay, this goes back to 1952 when I entered Penn State. Okay, and I was in Air ROTC there with the intention of going for my aeronautical engineering degree, and also I wanted to get into advanced ROTC and get a commission and go on to cadet school. I wanted to fly, all right, and so that got kind of waylaid because I was colorblind. After 9 tests, I was finally convinced that I was colorblind because I could still see red lights and green lights and whatever. I just didn't feel I was colorblind. So at Sampson Air Force Base, they did a battery of tests, coordination tests, which I passed with no problem. But the last day was the physical, and that's when they convinced me that I was colorblind and not eligible to get into cadets. So I didn't go back for my junior year at Penn State. Instead, I figured, well, maybe I'll get flight status if I just join the Air Force. Okay, and that's really the reason I joined. Okay, and as it turned out, I didn't get on any flight status. So they gave me some choices, and I took radio operation. So that's how I ended up at Keesler, learning the Morse code and whatever. Okay, 7 months there, and yeah, that's the reason why I joined.
Okay. Can you tell me about some of your first days in the service?
My first days?
We'll start with boot camp.
Yeah, sure. I was lucky, okay, right from the start, because I had gone for 2 years in ROTC at Penn State. When I got to basic training at Sampson, they said, "Oh, you've got some education, so we're not going to have you peeling potatoes or standing guard or doing any of those duties. You're going to be in charge. You're going to be a squad leader. Okay, you're going to teach these guys to march. You're going to, you're going to make sure that they get fed, whatever, that they do what they're supposed to do, but you're not going to be scrubbing floors or doing any cleaning latrines or anything like that." So I was lucky. Okay, I never peeled one potato the whole time I was in the service. Pretty much the same. That's it for my experience there. We did have one 3-day weekend off, which was kind of rowdy, I would say, but harmless. We didn't do anything bad, but it was just such a feeling of freedom after being locked up in a barracks for 3 months. Anyway, from there, we went. The 3 of us, we had gotten very close at Sampson, and we were all sent to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, and we were told at the beginning of the class that the top 3 students would get their choice of assignment at the end of the training, which was 7 months long. And so sure enough, we worked our butts off to make that grade, because we all three of us wanted to go to Germany. So we did. I ended up in second place. Okay, so I got my choice along with my two buddies, and we were buddies. As a matter of fact, I still communicate with one of them. The other one passed away. But anyway, so 7 months of training, mostly in Morse code. We got our choice, and we all three went to Germany. And the thing is, I couldn't go to work to do what I was trained to do, because my top secret clearance hadn't come in yet. And what my job would have been was to intercept messages from the Soviet Union and interpret them and whatever. Okay. As a matter of fact, I never got to do that. I never got to use my skills. So I waited for 6 months, and in the meantime, I was adjutant to the commanding officer there. And but then I was notified that my top secret clearance was denied, and I could not use my skills to go to work. So they transferred me to Tripoli. Okay, where I was put in charge of the military affiliated radio system, okay, which is called Mars. And what we did there is we passed messages between air bases. Okay, we had a 5,000 watt ham radio system. That's what it amounts to, and we could communicate with anyone anywhere in the world who had a ham setup. And but most of our communication was between or among the Air Force bases in the area, in the Mediterranean area. Athens, Munich, Barcelona, whatever, all the Morocco. So I was there for a little over a year, about 14 months, I think. And while I was there, I think I have to mention this, because I saw more of Europe when I was in Libya, when I was in Africa, than I did when I was in Europe, when I was in Germany. And the reason for that was, one morning, about 2 o'clock in the morning, the base commander called me in my barracks. And he asked me if I would do a favor. I said, hey, you're a bird colonel. I'll be glad to do you a favor, So the favor was, he had a friend who was a captain, and his mother here in Springfield, Mass, was dying and had hours to live. Okay, and the colonel asked me if I would please go to the Mars radio station and see if I could find anybody to help communicate with his family in Springfield. So I got on the air, and I met the captain. I met the captain at the radio station, at the Mars radio station, and he seemed very somber. He was very, very sad, because he knew what was coming, and that is, if I could contact somebody. And I finally got a gentleman by the name of Bob Smith, who lives here on Bushy Hill Road, okay, on stone's throw from here, and he patched us into Springfield. So once we made that connection and that patch, I just had him sit down in front of the mic, and I walked out of the room, just let him have his privacy. Okay, so he came out after about 25 minutes, 30 minutes. He came back out, and of course tears were coming down his cheeks, and he was very emotional, and I was too. And he hugged me, and and then we parted. He went home, and I went back to the barracks. Now I didn't know it at the time, but the very next day, he called me and told me that he was inviting me to dinner. Okay, and at that point, I found out that he was married and had his family right there on the base, right there in Tripoli, on the base. He asked me if I would come to dinner. Okay, just to say thank you, whatever. I said, sure, I'd be glad to. And what happened was I went to dinner, and at the end of the meal, he looked at me and he says, Aldo, he says, how would you like to come with me to Athens next weekend? Oh, sure. I said, how are we going to do that? He says, well, I'm captain of the weather squadron. I have access to my own airplane, a C-47, and he says, I've been designated the officer to replenish the liquor at the officers' club, to get fresh milk, because we use powdered milk mostly, and to bring fresh meat back to the base for the kitchen, for the chow hall. And so I said, sure, and he says, I do this every 2 weeks. He says, you can come with me every time I go. We go to a different place, and you're welcome to come along. I would encourage you to come. You can see a lot of that part of the country. So I said, well, yeah, how am I going to get a 3-day pass every other weekend? He said he would take care of that, and he did. Okay. So as a result, I got to see Athens, Munich, Berlin, Copenhagen, Barcelona, Rome. I mean, all the major cities I got to see that I'd never done. I'd never gotten to see whenever I was stationed in Germany. Okay. Well, I figured I had 3 years over there. I had plenty of time, and well, that just never happened. Okay. Anyway, at that point too. This was during the Suez Crisis, and although we never got into any combat situation, every day for a while there, Arabs would come up on. We were only about 50 yards from the water, okay, and the Arabs would come in with their rafts and their boats and their canoes and whatever, and they would shoot at our building, okay, and knock out the windows and but we never returned any fire. Because as soon as the fog lifted, they were gone, and they really never caused much damage. So we didn't pay much attention to them. Well, anyway, so that lasted for about a year, a little over a year, and then I was transferred to Roswell, New Mexico, Walker Air Force Base, and at that point, my AFSC was overmanned. In other words, our shifts were cut down from 8 hours to 4 hours because there just wasn't enough work to do. All right, so, and that drove me kind of crazy. So what I did is I went to a radio station downtown Roswell and got a job as a radio announcer. So that took up a lot of my time because I like to, prepare my show. I had a music show, plus we did a lot of canned stuff from the Mutual Network, and anyway, that's how I finished out my term. And at the end, they said my staff sergeant papers were in the process, and he said, we want you to apply for OCS. Will you re-enlist? And I thought about it. It took a couple of days to think about it, and then I decided, well, I have a girlfriend back home, and I'm going to go home. So and that's really where my military career ended. It really was pretty uneventful compared to the veterans that I go to VFW meetings with. Some of them are all scarred up. Some of them are missing legs, and it's just, sometimes I just don't even consider myself a valid veteran because I didn't go through all that. My tour of duty was a pure vacation. Okay, but I can't think of any other way to describe it. So
well, you are a veteran, and I'd like to flesh out some more of your story. So
Sure.
We're going to jump back to Sampson Air Force Base.
Okay.
And can you tell me more about your daily duty, where you were teaching classes?
Yeah, well, most of our day was doing physical training. Okay, go out and do physical training for 2 or 3 hours a day. Scattered. The hours were scattered. We would do maybe one at 5 o'clock in the morning, another one at 11, another one in the evening, 4 o'clock or whatever. So I was in charge of keeping my squad together. Okay, and making sure that their foot lockers were neat, their beds were made, and I was authorized to give out demerits and whatever, So then I had to assign guys from my squad to stand guard duty, or potato peeling duty, whatever was needed. I had to make sure my squad was there and was doing a good job of it. A lot of our time was spent, my time anyway, teaching my squad how to march. Okay, which is a pretty intricate kind of duty. Okay, and we got pretty good at it. We got an award because of it at the end of our basic training, and so that's mostly what I did there in basic. It was. No, it wasn't. We did go out on bivouac. We went through the gas chamber, what do they call it? I can't think of the name now. The gas chamber where it's tear gas. Okay, they put a mask on you. You take the mask off and you try to survive. A few minutes of tear gas, and that was pretty brutal. We went out on bivouac. Okay, we had rifle training, all that. So our days were full, definitely.
Okay. And then after that, you went to
Keesler.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about your day-to-day operations?
Okay, day-to-day was pretty much learning the Morse code. The Morse code is not easy, okay? And it's not easy not because you can't learn the dots and the dashes, but because every day they speeded it up, okay? And at the end, we were able to read I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but probably 60, 70 words a minute in Morse code, okay, which was required, and that's why it took 7 months to learn it, okay? But day to day, it was, you get up in the morning, you get up at reveille, you gather your class and you go to chow, and then after class you go get dinner, and in the evening we were free to go off base if we wanted to go downtown Biloxi and have a beer or whatever. It was pretty easy living. As long as you kept your grades up. If you didn't keep your grades up, if you weren't making it, you were out. Okay, and then you were peeling potatoes. But that was but Biloxi was to me. I enjoy learning anyway. Okay, and to me it was a little bit of a challenge, but I got to like it. Matter of fact, my two friends, we all felt the same. We were going to do this, and we did it.
So, can you tell me a little bit about how you learned the Morse code?
How I learned it? Very slowly. The thing is, some of us had our own bugs. We called them bugs. The Morse code device there. And we would practice in the evening. We would practice because we were so intent on getting the first prizes. Okay, we were so intent on doing that. We were dedicated to it. So we did practice on our own. Okay, and we had access to the classroom if we wanted to go in throw on a tape, and we did that a lot too. Um, and then just for practice, we would send coded messages to each other. Okay, and so yeah, we did a lot of work to get to our goal, which was to go to Germany. Okay, so that's basically what we went through on a daily basis. So.
Do you remember any of your instructors?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. So then after that, you went to Germany.
Right.
And can you tell me about your assignment and your day-to-day?
Yeah, sure. My assignment was because I didn't get my top secret clearance while I was waiting for the top secret clearance to come through. They assigned me to be adjutant to the base commander. So I spent about 6 months as adjutant, and then news finally came in that I wasn't going to get my top secret clearance. I never did find out precisely why I didn't get it, but there's a lot of conjecture that because I have relatives in Italy, a couple of them who are communists to this day, okay, and I have a feeling, and many people agreed, that that's probably the cause of my not getting the clearance. But anyway, my day-to-day was just to take care of base paperwork. It was a small unit. It was a small town right on the Rhine River, and one thing I did do a lot of. All of us did, as we went off the base and we mingled with the townspeople there. And this was 9 years after the end of World War II, or 10, yeah, 9 or 10. And the Germans just loved us. I mean, they would gather their kids together, come out. If they saw us walking down the pathway in uniform, they would come out of their houses and they would have their pictures taken with us. I mean, they were just beautiful to us, the townspeople. And let me tell you, the Germans know how to party too. Because while I was there, they have a celebration called the Wine Fest. It's similar to the Oktoberfest, except it's only 2 weeks long, the Wine Fest. But all hell breaks loose. And so of course we had our limits. We couldn't come back to the base plastered or anything like that. So we knew our limits, and we just had a really good time with the German people there. They were so glad, and some of the people that I met there knew a limited amount of English, and we would talk, and they would say how glad they were that the Americans finally came. And here, if you looked around Bingen, the church was bombed out. This row of houses was gone. It was awful. It was the streets were still littered with rubble. It was amazing that the German people are thanking us for doing this to them. But then they finally realized that Hitler was not the God that they were told that he was. But anyway, that was my day-to-day thing there. I did take a lot of walks along the river. We went out, we'd exercise and whatever. So.
Okay. And then after Germany, you went.
I went to Wheelus Air Base in Tripoli.
Right.
Okay. And that's where I saw very little of the downtown area because the Arabs, unlike the Germans, didn't like the Americans. And there was a British unit there too. And see, the thing with American military there, we were not allowed to get involved with any squabbles with the Arabs. If they attacked us, we just ran. Okay, you couldn't stand your ground. But that wasn't so with if you did fight back, you were court-martialed. Okay. Now, for the British that were there, it didn't affect them. They could do anything they want. So one night, friends and I went to a bar in downtown Tripoli, and when we came out of the bar, there were Arabs behind the pillars with knives and stuff. We were very lucky that across the street there were five British GIs. Okay, and when the Arabs saw them, they took off. So if they hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened. That was another little highlight of my stay in Tripoli.
Do you know why you weren't allowed to
That was
combat with them? Or?
That was one of the base rules. I don't know if it was an agreement they made with King Idris or what. I have no idea. But that was military law. You do not fight back. You walk away or you run away. You do whatever you have to do to avoid any conflict. All right. And so anyway, when I was in Tripoli, I saw more of that part of the world than I ever expected to see. Okay, all because of this Captain John Scuderi. That's the captain's name, whose mother passed away. He was from the Springfield area, and after I was discharged, I was in contact with him, and he did have to come here to Avon, had dinner with me and my family and whatever. So. Yeah, but my tour of duty in Tripoli was exceptional, really was.
Can you tell me more about these outgoing or ventures that you went on with the captain to go get food and everything?
Well, okay, yeah, it's one thing about Captain Scuderi. Okay, whenever we got to a destination, Athens, be it Munich, be it Paris, wherever, okay, and I saw all those places, as soon as we landed, he would go his way and I would go mine. Well, after a while, it got pretty boring, even though these were all exotic cities, okay. And I got to tour as much as I could for the time that I was there, but doing it alone was just getting to be a drag. Okay, so one day Captain Scuderi called me and he says, "Are you ready to go?" And I said, "Look, Captain, I don't think I'm going to go this time." All right. He says, "Why not?" He says, "You have a good time." And I said, well, because, I just don't like doing this all alone. Okay, walking around Athens by myself, and, those people don't know how to speak English, and I can't communicate. So he said, why don't you get a friend to go with you? He says, I'll take care of the 3-day passes. And he did. So I was very good friends with a guy by the name of Charlie Price from Portland, Maine. And he and I, from that point on, he and I, every other weekend, we would travel to our different cities. Okay, so Captain Scuderi just didn't want me to give up my vacation.
That's very nice.
Yeah, really, it worked out real well. Yeah.
So then you left there and you went to Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, before we move on to Roswell. Can you tell me more about the Mars that you operated on?
Yeah, okay. Mars, military-affiliated radio system. It really didn't serve a pure military duty. It wasn't a pure military duty. It was just like operating a ham radio station, your own ham radio station in your own home. But it was organized so that we had schedules to communicate with different air bases in the Mediterranean area, and so we kept those schedules. And mostly they were personal messages that were going back and forth. An officer in Athens might be close friends with an officer at Wheelus, and so they would communicate with each other through our station. Also, we communicated with the Air Force bases here in the United States. We had power enough to do that. I communicated with Russians, with Koreans, with Japanese, and I used to collect. Well, I did collect a bunch of QSL, what we call QSL cards. They're just acknowledgments that we were in contact with a certain person in a certain country. They got lost over the years. They just disappeared. But we were communicating non-militarily almost anywhere in the world. Once our military communications were satisfied, then we would just get on the air and just make friends with people all over the world. It was wonderful.
Oh, very nice job. So then you went on to Roswell.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell me about your day-to-day operation there?
Yeah, it was pretty much the same as Wheelus, except after I was there for a couple of months, they cut our shifts in half because we were overstaffed. And so that's when it just drove me crazy not to have to do anything, not having anything to do. And so one of the guys on base said, "Hey, if you like radio, why don't you go down to the local radio station, KGFL, and see if they need somebody?" And so I did. And sure enough, they gave me a 6-hour job every weekend, and a couple of nights during the week, shorter shifts. And I got paid for that, besides what I was getting paid for from the Air Force. And I had even saved up enough money to get my first car. So I had a car to roam around in. Of course, all my buddies used it more than I did. It's usually the way. But anyway, it was another vacation, really. But I have to say that I missed my girlfriend, and it got serious. As a matter of fact, when I was in Tripoli, I went to the old city, took a chance, and went to the old city, and I bought an engagement ring. So we had gotten pretty serious, and that's why I refused OCS, and because she said she didn't want that. So, but my day-to-day, 4 hours at Mars, doing the same thing that I was doing in Tripoli, just passing messages and communicating with the world, really. At this point, though, I was just biding my time to either get out or go to OCS. All right, so, and I opted to go to come home at the end of the 4 years. Actually, it was 3 years, 3 years and 9 months. So.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Yeah, I was. I don't remember what they were. In 1973, I made a request to the National Archive to get a copy of my DD-214, my discharge paper. And they told me that it wasn't available. That in 1973, there had been a fire that destroyed half of the records. And if your name began with L to Z or something like that, then your records were burned. They were destroyed. And so they asked me if I had any papers, any documents that I'd saved from my tour of duty. And I said, yeah, I had, and I counted them. I had 39 documents. But none of them, to answer your question, none of them mentioned, I had nothing that said that I was awarded any medals. Okay, so on the DD-214, they put none. No medals were awarded. But I'd gotten a good conduct. I'd gotten a German campaign medal, a African campaign medal. But I don't have the medals themselves, and I can't. Well, I have the ribbons. I don't have the medals. And that's as far as that went. So I have to say no. I didn't didn't get awarded any medals because I can't prove it.
How did you stay in touch with your family while you were overseas?
Letters, mostly letters, but also I knew a ham radio operator here in town. It wasn't the one that got me through, but I knew other ham operators. That's when ham radio was pretty popular. And I would talk to them, okay? Talk to my mom and dad, my sisters, by radio. But mostly it was by letters. And on one occasion, when I was on a trip to Rome, my mother came over from here and met me at a relative's home on Lake Garda in northern Italy. So we were never without communication of one sort or another. Okay, but that was never lacking. So,
how was the food while you were overseas?
In Germany was great. Because we had fresh milk, fresh meat, fresh, everything was fresh fruit. Everything was off the land there. But when I when I was in Tripoli, it was powdered milk, and it was canned meat, spam, whatever, that kind of thing. So, and the thing that I thought was unfair was that the officers got the good milk and the good meat, and the grunts like I was, we settled for chipped beef on toast and stuff like that. But it's okay. It wasn't bad. The food was still good. As a matter of fact, I got to like chipped beef pretty much.
Did you ever feel any pressure or stress?
Not really. No.
Okay.
No, there was, I got a little bit nervous whenever the Arabs would come up and shoot at us. Yeah, but after a while you knew they were going to just vent whatever they do. And then they were gone. They were just a nuisance, that's all.
Did you see any USO shows?
No. But I did meet John Wayne. Yeah, when I was in Tripoli, they made a movie called Legend of the Lost. It was John Wayne and Sophia Loren. All right, and they came to the base to visit. Okay, and they were in the mess hall on one occasion, and they both went around and met people. So I met John Wayne and Sophia Loren. Did they ever do a show though? No, they didn't. Let's go back to Biloxi. Okay, Biloxi, a bunch of us got together and we wanted to put on a stage show. Because some of us played guitar, some of us sang. So I did pantomime. And so we did put on a show, But as far as going to see a celebrity, we didn't get a chance to do much of that. So.
Okay. Do you recall anything particularly humorous while you were?
I'm sorry?
Anything humorous while you were in did you guys play pranks on each other?
Not really. We probably joked around, yeah. I can't remember anything that stands out. No, I can't recall any pranks that we played on each other. I'm sure we did.
Okay.
I'm sure we did, but I just don't recall.
Did you keep a journal?
No.
Okay. Now, you were in Roswell when your service ended. Can you tell me about your last day?
Yeah. My last days were spent wondering what I should do. Okay. That was stressful. But let me just say one thing. When I was in Roswell, I was there for about 3 months, and my girlfriend, her name was Donna, and I communicated frequently. And then one day, she called and she told me that she went out with a girlfriend last night and she got raped. And now, to this day, I really was never convinced that that was the case. But anyway, we broke up. So now I'm wondering, what should I do? And in the meantime, I'd met, because of the radio station, I'd met quite a few girls down there. So I started dating one, and that's when I started getting serious again. Okay, well, I was more. I guess I was just shot down from my girlfriend. So my last days there were spent just wondering, what am I going to do now? And I just decided I wanted to go home. That's my last days. My main concentration was really on the radio station, because Mars Radio wasn't that busy, and I don't know. I had gotten to like radio announcing. As a matter of fact, even to this day, I have a radio show at the University of Hartford that I do every week, every Tuesday morning. I've been doing it now for over 11 years. So I got to like radio, and I spent a lot of my last days in the service concentrating on radio work.
Okay. What's the name of your show?
It's called The Open Door.
Okay.
And it's on Tuesday mornings from 3 to 6. And they wanted me to do a daytime spot, and I said no. I said, I've developed a bunch of listeners. They're very nice. They call me all the time, and I don't care if I don't have a lot of listeners like you might have during the day. As a matter of fact, I think in some cases I have more, because people are working during the day, and at that time of the morning they're just getting up. They turn the radio on, and there I am. I just play music. Just.
Okay. How was your homecoming?
Was pretty eventful. Yeah, it was pretty eventful. We were living with my family over on Mountain View Avenue, and all the neighbors got together. I had a great party. The VFW came around and wanted to make sure I joined, and so I joined the Italian club, and the Italian club was very receptive to my homecoming. Okay, and about 2 weeks later, I went to work for IBM. I was there for 9 years, and life was good. I met a girl at IBM. She was there for. She was going to Hartford College for Women. She was learning how to operate a key punch machine at IBM. I met her there, and she was being hustled by an Air Force guy, and she didn't like him. So she accepted an invitation to go to lunch with me, and from that point on, one thing led to another, and we ended up getting married. So that was my homecoming. It was really nice. It was really nice.
Did you end up using the GI Bill for school?
Yes. I finished my education. I didn't want to go back to aeronautical engineering, because I didn't want to be an aeronautical engineer if I couldn't fly. It just didn't make sense to me. Okay, I just couldn't. I couldn't make it work in my mind. So I went to University of Hartford I got my degree in business management, bachelor's degree. I didn't go on to a master's, and yeah, that's where I am. That's where. My wife and I moved to Providence. We were transferred by IBM to Providence, and we liked it there very much. I mean, we were in a nice town right on the beach, I had a nice home, and we were there. I was married, 19 years. And what happened was she developed a brain tumor. All right, and she survived 11 surgeries, but didn't survive the 12th one. She died at 41, age 41. And that was devastating, to say the least. Okay, I did remarry, but it didn't work out. 5 years after my wife passed away, Lois, I married a girl with 4 kids because we'd always wanted children. And that lasted for quite a few years, 15 years, but then things just went downhill. Okay, be it my fault, be it hers, I don't know, but it just wasn't working out. I think about it, and I keep coming up with the notion that I just never really got over my first wife. Okay, so that would make it my fault. But anyway, that's where it is today. I retired from Unum Provident, actually Paul Revere Insurance in Worcester, and I came to back to Avon whenever my mother got sick. Okay, and my dad had passed away, and my mother was living alone, and so I moved back to Connecticut to take care of her. She passed away in 2003, 2004, and I've been here ever since.
Okay. So you joined the VFW?
Yeah, I joined the VFW. I was for several years. I was part of the Color Guard and the Honor Guard, and I was adjutant for about 7 years there. So, yeah, I've been pretty active with the VFW. So I'm now in charge of lowering the flag when a Connecticut military man gets killed in action. So I like to stay active. I do.
How would you say your military experience influenced your thinking about war or the military in general?
Well, I don't know that I've never liked the idea of war. Although I have to say that the World War II era is my favorite historical era. Okay, it's just implanted in my mind, and I have one of my favorite channels on TV is the military channel. It's now called the American Heroes channel, and I just every time I watch a documentary, I learn something new about the war, and it's all fascinating, and it just leaves me wondering, how could this ever have happened? How could people be so brutal? So my idea of war has always been very very downsided. Okay, and I strongly believe in negotiation. I don't know. Has my military service influenced that? I probably. When I saw the devastation in Germany, I just said, there's got to be another solution besides combat, besides going to war, besides killing each other. It just has to be. But so far we haven't found it. So, one thing it did teach me that I didn't have any before, except when I was home with my parents, and that's discipline. Okay, and I think I have a nephew now who's considering going to college. Matter of fact, he's already enrolled, and he was wondering about whether to get into ROTC, and I told him I encouraged him to do so, if for no other reason that it really puts a discipline in your life. Okay. you're not necessarily regimented, but you are disciplined. Okay, if you start a project, you're going to finish it. You know, if you say something, you're gonna tell it like it is. You're going to be disciplined. Okay, and that I think in the formative years, especially, I think that's important. I really, really believe that. So if the military has had any influence on me at all, that would be the main one. So
Okay. Do you attend any reunions of your unit?
no, no, I don't. Because I've been in so many units, that I've never been. If I had been in Germany for the 3 years that I was scheduled to be, probably would have. But I don't think they have a reunion because I don't think anybody ever stayed there long enough. Okay.
Um, is there anything else that we might not have covered that you would like to add?
Just one note to go back to my grade school years. Okay, just one note briefly. My first and second grade teacher, his name was Lee Ellsworth. He was drafted into the Army Air Corps. It was no Air Force at that time. It was called the Army Air Corps. And during those 2 years that he was my teacher, we connected. We connected really well. I mean, he took a shine to me, and he would take me home to his kids and then bring me home late. My parents would wonder where I was. But anyway, we really got connected, and he got drafted, and he was flying a Thunderbolt. And every once in a while he would come circle the house, and he would send me patches and all kinds. He would send me medals and whatever. Okay, anything that had to do with the military and especially the Air Corps. And I think that's what influenced me to want to fly. I mean, I built model airplanes. There's a show, a few of them right there, but. I think he was one of my main influences as to what I wanted to do with my life. Okay, and that was to be an aeronautical engineer and to fly, to be a cadet. At Penn State we took apart an AT-6 and put it back together again, 6 of us. Okay, so I got really attached to that career path, okay, which really didn't materialize. But okay.
Well, Aldo, I'd like to thank you for your service and for your time today for this interview.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Amy.